Welcome back to Red Glasses Talks. The topic today is 3 essentials. If you want to have a life worth living, these 3 essentials need to be a significant part of your life, the foundational part of your life. First of all, you got to have a faith to live by. Secondly, you have to have a self to live with. And if you want more information on this too, go back the last few weeks, watch Red Glasses, and you'll see what we talked about. Today, we're on the 3rd essential. You got to have a purpose to live for. A purpose to live for. Your main purpose is not, listen to this, it's not to earn a lot of money. Nothing wrong with earning a lot of money, but that's not your main purpose. It's not to have a lot of stuff. It is not to be well known. It's not to have a buku of achievements. Nothing wrong with any of those. But it's still not the main purpose that we've been created for. Also, you got to remember your main purpose is not your profession or your job. That's how you pay the bills. That's how you eat. That is secondary to the main purpose, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. Most people on this planet miss God's main purpose. And it's all the difference in the world. How we go about life. If we understand His purpose and with His assistance, we live that purpose out. So what is God's purpose? You ready? Here it is. Your number one purpose is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. Well, you say, what in the world does it mean to glorify God? Well, look in the scripture in Isaiah 43, verses 6 and 7. I will say to the north, give them up. To the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Then this, verse 7. Everyone who is called by my name, whom I created for my glory, whom I formed and made. You and I have been made for His glory. Listen, not only Isaiah 43, but if you flip over to 1 Corinthians chapter number 6, verse number 20, you were bought at a price. In other words, God made us. Then when we fell out of a relationship with Him, His answer to get us back into an intimate relationship with Him was to send His Son Jesus, who lived, died, and rose from the dead. In other words, when His Son died, He paid the penalty that I'm due on the cross to be separated from God forever, but He bought me back. So literally, I am doubly His. He created me, He bought me back. So with that in mind then, have you ever glorify God? What does that mean? Have you ever heard of a dog with ulcers? Let me tell you why dogs don't get ulcers. Because they don't do anything but be a dog. That's all they do. How about a tree? Do trees try to fly? No, trees don't try to fly because they just do what they've been created to do, to be a tree. That's it. Listen to this. All of creation glorifies God by being that for which it was created, except mankind, except you and me. The secret to a purpose, God's purpose in our lives, is to understand, is to glorify Him and enjoy Him forever. So, you glorify God how? You glorify God by loving God. And how do you love Him? By doing what He says to do. I tell you, we don't want anybody to tell us what to do. A lot of times we don't want somebody to give us suggestions, give us their ideas, and when it comes to Him, it's the same thing. You know, I know best. I know how to run my life. I can make it out just fine. Well, that never works. When you obey Him, you are glorifying Him. He did not make you. He did not make me. He did not make us to glorify us. He made us to glorify Him. Listen, there is a sense where we need to experience self-forgetfulness and focus on God remembrance. There's a little book by Tim Keller, and I think you'd love it. It's called The Freedom of Self-Forgiveness. Some of you will get that. The freedom of not forgiveness, that's a good one too, but self-forgetfulness. Self-forgetfulness. You might want to pick that up. Boy, that's a winner. Just a short little book, but man, it's a life changer. So, therefore, there is a sense in which we need to focus more on him. I have 3 granddaughters. One is named Josie. And Josie, a few years ago, decided she's going to run. So she started running cross country and then track. But last year in one of her cross country meets, she seemed to be not really getting after it and running. She's one of the top runners in the state of Georgia in cross country and in track. So anyway, my daughter went up to her afterwards and said, "Sweetheart, you just seemed like you weren't putting it all in there. You were kind of lagging behind." And she said, well, and she mentioned her friend at school that was also on the cross country team. And she said, well, she was kind of lagging behind, and I didn't want her to have to run by herself, and she was struggling, and so I just kind of dropped back and ran with her. Let me tell you something. When little Josie, who has a compassionate heart, did that, God was smiling. He said, she gets it. It's not about the race. It's about the people in the race. And it's about what we do to relate and love and care for the people in the race of life. Everything in our life ought to point to Jesus. Every action, every facial expression, every tone of voice that we use, every donation or dollar we give to some group or church or whatever, the quality of the work that we give every day in our profession, etc. Because you see, here's the door. Every day, in every way, it should point to Jesus. Why? Because he's the point. Not you, and not me.